The gravel crunched under the tires like bones snapping. Sarah's breath fogged the window of the black SUV, her cheek pressed to the cold glass. She couldn't remember the last time she'd eaten. Maybe yesterday, maybe the day before. Time had blurred since the men in ski masks dragged her from the apartment, zip ties cutting into her wrists. Now the zip ties were gone, replaced by a single leather cuff around her left ankle, tethered to the floor bolt with a short chain. She tugged once, testing. The metal didn't budge. The driver never spoke. Neither did the man in the passenger seat, his gloved hands resting on a tablet that glowed faintly in the dark. Outside, sodium lights strobed across empty fields, then gave way to a gate, tall, matte black, no logo. It slid open without a sound. No guardhouse, no intercom, just a camera that tracked the vehicle like a predator's eye. Sarah's pulse hammered in her throat. She swallowed, tasting copper. "Where are we?" Her voice cracked on the second word. The driver's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror, then away. Silence. The SUV rolled forward, tires whispering over fresh asphalt. Trees loomed on either side, their branches skeletal against the night sky. No houses, no lights, just the low hum of the engine and the faint tick of the turn signal when they veered left onto a narrower drive. She counted the seconds between heartbeats. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Her fingers curled into fists, nails digging half-moons into her palms. She wasn't crying. Not yet. Crying would mean she'd given up. The car stopped. Doors opened. Cold air rushed in, sharp with pine and something metallic. The passenger unhooked her tether with a soft click, then gripped her upper arm. His fingers were warm through the sleeve of her hoodie. She stumbled out, boots scraping gravel. The driver stayed behind the wheel, engine idling. Ahead, a low building, concrete and glass, half swallowed by shadow. No signage. One door, steel, no handle. The keypad glowed red. The passenger keyed in a sequence, too fast for her to follow, then pushed the door open with his shoulder. Inside smelled of ozone and polished wood. The lights were dim, motion-activated, flickering on as they moved. Hallway. Another door. This one opened into a room the size of a small warehouse, but empty except for a single table and 2 chairs. No windows. The air was refrigerated, raising gooseflesh on her arms. The passenger released her. "Sit." She didn't. Her legs felt like water. He didn't repeat himself. Just stepped back, hands clasped behind him, and waited. Sarah's gaze darted. Concrete floor, scuffed but clean. A drain in the center. One camera in the corner, red light steady. The table was steel, bolted down. One chair faced her. Empty. Footsteps. Slow. Measured. The sound of expensive soles on concrete. Robert entered without hurry. He wore a charcoal coat, collar up, no tie. The watch on his wrist caught the light. Thin, silver, no brand she recognized. His hair was damp, as if he'd just showered. He smelled faintly of cedar and something sharper, like wintergreen. He didn't look at her right away. Instead, he removed his gloves 1 finger at a time, folding them into a pocket. Then he pulled out the chair and sat, elbows on the table, hands steepled. Sarah's mouth went dry. She'd seen pictures. Everyone had. Robert Langford, tech mogul, ghost investor, the man who bought companies the way other people bought coffee. But the photos didn't capture the way the room seemed to shrink around him, or how the air felt thinner. "Sarah," he said. His voice was quiet. Not soft, quiet, like a scalpel. She flinched at her name. He noticed. The corner of his mouth twitched, not quite a smile. "You're shaking." She hadn't realized. Her knees knocked together under the hoodie. She locked them. Robert leaned back. The chair didn't creak. "Your father owes me $43 million. The number hit her like a slap. She opened her mouth, closed it. "He took a loan," Robert continued, "secured against assets that no longer exist. Offshore accounts, shell companies, creative accounting." He said the last words like they tasted bad. "You know how this works." Sarah's father had always been a gambler. Crypto, startups, Real estate flips that never flipped. She'd stopped asking years ago. But 43 million? I didn't. Her voice broke. She tried again. I didn't know. Robert's eyes were gray, not cold flat, like a shark's. That's not my concern. He reached into his coat and withdrew a slim folder. Placed it on the table. Didn't open it. Your father offered collateral, he said. You. The word hung in the air, obscene in its simplicity. Sarah's stomach lurched. She took a step back, chain rattling. No. Robert didn't blink. The alternative is liquidation. His assets. His freedom. Yours. He paused. I'm told you have a brother in Portland. Medical school. Bright future. Her blood turned to ice. Don't. I won't need to. He finally opened the folder. Inside, a single sheet of paper. Heavy stock. Black ink. Her name at the top. Typed. Sign, he said. And the debt is settled. You belong to me for 5 years. After that, you walk. No police. No press. No contact with your family until the term is complete. She stared at the paper. The words blurred. Transfer of guardianship. Full authority. Non-negotiable. Her hands trembled so hard she had to press them to her thighs. And if I don't? Robert stood. Slowly. The movement was fluid, unhurried. He rounded the table, stopping just outside her reach. Up close, she saw the faint scar along his jaw, pale against tan skin. His presence filled the space like smoke. Then your father disappears, he said. Permanently. And you'll wish you had. Silence stretched. The hum of the ventilation system. Her own heartbeat, loud as a drum. Sarah looked at the paper, then at him. His eyes hadn't left her face. She picked up the pen. Her hand shook as she signed. The ink bled slightly where her palm sweated. Robert took the paper, folded it once, and slipped it into his pocket. He didn't smile, didn't gloat, just nodded to the passenger who stepped forward with a new tether, this one longer, clipped to a belt loop at her waist. Welcome to the arrangement, Robert said. He turned to leave. At the door he paused. One more thing. His voice was almost gentle. Don't try to run. The chain is symbolic. The real leash is in your head. Then he was gone. The lights dimmed to a sullen amber. The passenger guided her down a different hallway, past doors with coated locks. Her new room was small, windowless, but clean. A cot, a sink, a toilet behind a half-wall. A single book on the nightstand, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. No note. She sat on the cot, knees to chest. The tether allowed her to reach the sink but not the door. She stared at her reflection in the stainless steel faucet. Eyes wide, lips bloodless. 5 years. She pressed her forehead to her knees and finally let herself cry. Silent, furious tears that soaked into the hoodie. Outside, somewhere far off, she heard the SUV start up again. Gravel crunching, fading into the night. Sarah wiped her face with the sleeve. She wasn't broken. Not yet. But something inside her had already started to fracture. And in the dark, she whispered to the empty room, I'll find a way out. The camera in the corner blinked red, steady and unblinking. The door sealed behind the guard with a soft pneumatic hiss. Sarah was alone with the cot, the sink, and the red eye of the camera. The tether at her waist allowed 3 steps in any direction, enough to reach the toilet, the sink, the edge of the cot. Not enough to touch the door. She sat. The mattress was thin, the blanket military neat. The book lay where it had been placed, spine uncracked. She didn't open it. Rain started outside, a low hiss against concrete. No thunder, just steady, indifferent water. The room's temperature dropped a degree. The vent exhaled colder air. She pulled her knees tighter to her chest, hoodie sleeves over her hands. Time dilated. The camera's red light pulsed every 4 seconds. She counted until she lost track at 212. Footsteps. Not the guards, heavy, deliberate. These were lighter, almost soundless. But the floor transmitted the vibration up through the cot frame. Sarah's spine straightened. She stared at the door. It opened inward. Robert stepped through alone. No coat now, just a black sweater, sleeves pushed to the elbows. The scar on his jaw caught the dim light. He carried nothing. He didn't speak. Closed the door with the same hush. Stood 3 feet away, hands loose at his sides, and looked at her. Sarah's mouth dried. She wanted to stand, to put the cot between them, but the tether jerked her back an inch when she tried. The chain was silent, but the message was loud. Robert's gaze moved over her slowly, face, throat, the tremor in her clasped hands, the way her socked feet curled against the cot's edge. Cataloging. Not leering. Assessing. "You didn't touch the book," he said. The sound of his voice in the small room made her flinch. It was the first thing anyone had said to her in hours. "I wasn't in the mood for philosophy," she answered. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. One corner of his mouth lifted, not amusement, acknowledgement. He took 1 step closer. The tether allowed her to lean back, nothing more. "You should eat." He tilted his head toward the door. "There's a tray outside." Sarah hadn't noticed the slot at the base of the door. A rectangle, flush with the steel, no handle. She glanced at it, then back at him. "I'm not hungry. Your blood sugar will crash. You'll faint. Then I'll have to carry you." He said it flatly, like stating the weather. "I'd rather not." She swallowed. "I'll manage." Robert studied her another beat. Then he crouched, bringing his eyes level with hers. The movement was smooth, predatory. Up close, she saw the flecks of green in the gray, and the faint shadow of stubble along his jaw. "You think defiance is strength," he said quietly. "It isn't. Not yet." Sarah's pulse thudded in her ears. "What is, then?" "Knowing when to wait." He reached into his pocket. She tensed, but he only produced a small key. Brass worn. He held it between thumb and forefinger, not offering it, just letting her see. "This opens the tether. 1 turn." He paused. "You'll get it when you stop shaking." Her hands were trembling again. She hadn't noticed. She pressed them between her thighs. Robert stood. The key disappeared back into his pocket. "I'll be down the hall," he said. "3rd door. Unlocked. If you need water, the bathroom, anything, knock once. The guard will bring you. Don't try the handle yourself." He turned to leave. "Why?" The word slipped out before she could stop it. He paused, hand on the door. Didn't turn. "Why what? Why not just lock me in a basement? Chain me to a wall? Why?" She gestured at the cot, the book, the clean floor. "This?" Robert faced her fully now. Something shifted behind his eyes, curiosity, maybe, or irritation. "Because I don't need chains," he said. "I need you awake, aware, watching." He let that settle. "Fear is loud. Obedience is quiet. I prefer quiet." Sarah's throat worked. "And after the 5 years?" He didn't answer right away. The rain intensified, drumming harder against the unseen roof. "Then you leave," he said. "If you still want to." He stepped out. The door sealed. The lock didn't click. She listened for it, heard nothing. Either it was silent or it wasn't locked at all. Sarah stared at the slot in the door. After a minute, it slid open from the outside. A tray appeared. Bottled water, a sandwich wrapped in parchment, an apple sliced into perfect quarters. No utensils. The slot closed. She didn't move for a long time. Eventually, thirst won. She crawled to the edge of the tether's reach, dragged the tray closer with her foot. The water was cold. The sandwich was turkey, arugula, some kind of aioli on sourdough. Tasted like nothing and everything at once. She ate half, wrapped the rest, set it aside. Then she lay on the cot, staring at the ceiling. The camera watched. Hours passed, or minutes. The rain softened to a whisper. Her eyes burned, but sleep wouldn't come. She sat up again. The 3rd door. Unlocked. Sarah stood. The tether pulled taut, then slackened as she tested its radius. 2 steps toward the door. 3. The chain didn't rattle. It was coated. Silent. She reached the door. Her hand hovered over the handle. No shake now, just a steady, terrible calm. She didn't open it. Instead, She pressed her palm flat against the cool metal and whispered, "I'm still here." On the other side, she thought she heard the faint creak of a chair. Or maybe it was the building settling. She went back to the cot, curled under the blanket, closed her eyes. In the dark, she catalogued every sound. The vent's rhythmic sigh, the rain's dying patter, the soft pad of a guard passing in the hall. And beneath it all, the low, steady thrum of her own heart. Somewhere down the corridor, a door opened and closed. Footsteps receded. Sarah breathed in, breathed out. She wasn't broken. But for the first time, she wondered what obedience might feel like if it came wrapped in curiosity instead of terror. The camera blinked red, patient and unblinking. Morning arrived without announcement. The lights in Sarah's room brightened gradually, from bruise purple to cold white. No window, no clock, just the slow fade of LEDs. She had slept in fits, waking every time the vent cycled. The blanket smelled faintly of detergent and cedar. The door opened at 6:47. She had counted the seconds since the last guard pass. Robert entered carrying a small metal tray. No guard behind him. The door sealed. He wore the same black sweater, sleeves pushed higher now. A thin red line traced the inside of his left forearm, fresh, shallow, the kind of cut that comes from a careless knife. He set the tray on the floor within her reach. Black coffee in a plain ceramic mug, 2 poached eggs on whole-grain toast, a single peach sliced into 6 perfect segments. No utensils. Sarah sat up slowly. The tether had been lengthened overnight. She could stand fully now, reach the sink without stooping. She hadn't heard anyone enter. "Eat," Robert said. She didn't move. "You're bringing me breakfast now? I decide when and what you eat. Today it's this." His tone was flat, factual. "Tomorrow it might be nothing if you waste it." Sarah looked at the peach. The flesh was pale gold, juice beading along the cuts. Her stomach cramped. She picked up the toast first, tore off a corner, chewed. Tasted like sawdust and salt. Robert watched her eat. Not impatiently, just watching. When she reached for the coffee, he spoke again. "Rules," he said. "Listen once. I don't repeat." She paused, mug halfway to her lips. "First, the tether stays until I remove it. You earn distance the way you earn food, by not making me regret it." Sarah set the mug down. "And how do I do that?" "By doing what I say the first time. No negotiation." He stepped closer. The cut on his arm had stopped bleeding. A dark line of dried blood clung to the skin. "Second, you speak to 3 people. Me. The guard you met last night, his name is Ellis. The woman who cleans, Marisol. No one else. If another staff member addresses you, you look at the floor and wait for me." Sarah's jaw tightened. "What if I need a doctor?" "You won't." He said it with certainty. "But if you do, you ask me." She finished the first egg. The yolk was runny. She wiped her fingers on the parchment the toast had come in. "Third schedule. You wake when the lights brighten. You're in the gym by 7:30. Shower by 8:15. Lessons at 9. Meals at set times. Lights dim at 10. You keep the schedule or you lose privileges." "Lessons." The word slipped out sharper than she intended. Robert's eyes flicked to hers. "Languages. Finance. Code. Whatever I decide you're missing." He paused. "You'll thank me when the 5 years are up." Sarah laughed once, short and bitter. "You think I'll thank you for kidnapping me? I think you'll thank me for keeping you alive and sharp." He crouched again, bringing them eye level. "Your father's creditors aren't gentle. I am the lesser evil." She searched his face for mockery and found none. The cut on his arm caught her gaze again. "You're bleeding," she said. He glanced down as if noticing it for the first time. "Kitchen knife." Marisol's cat startled me. A flicker of something, annoyance, maybe amusement, crossed his expression. Even billionaires bleed. The admission was so casual it felt like a trap. Sarah looked away. "Fourth rule," he continued. "You ask permission to leave any room. You wait for my voice. You don't touch doors, windows, vehicles, or anything with a screen unless I hand it to you." He stood. The tray was nearly empty now. Only coffee and half a peach remained. Fifth, no lies. I'll know. And I don't like wasted time. Sarah's pulse thudded in her wrists. What happens if I break a rule? Robert considered her. The silence stretched until the vent kicked on again. A low mechanical sigh. First offense. You lose the tether's slack. Second, you lose meals. Third, you lose the room. He said it without inflection. I don't raise my voice. I don't need to. Sarah swallowed. And if I follow them? He tilted his head. Then you learn what the tether is really for. She waited. He didn't elaborate. Robert reached into his pocket and produced the small brass key. He held it out, not close enough for her to take. Stand up. She did. The chain whispered across the floor. He stepped within reach, crouched, and unlocked the cuff at her waist. The leather fell away. For the first time since the warehouse, nothing bound her. Sarah rubbed the faint red mark on her skin. Her legs felt strange, light, untrustworthy. Gym's down the hall, Robert said. Ellis will show you what's in the drawer. He turned to leave. At the door, he paused without looking back. One more thing. You're allowed to hate me. Just don't waste energy on it. The door opened and closed. Sarah stood in the sudden quiet, free of the tether but more aware than ever of the invisible ones. She opened the drawer. Gray leggings, black tank, running shoes her size. Someone had measured her while she slept. Sarah dressed slowly. The fabric was soft, expensive without shouting it. She tied her hair back with the elastic band left on top. In the mirror over the sink, her eyes looked wider, darker. She practiced a neutral expression. It didn't fit. Down the hall, Ellis waited, same suit, same silence. He didn't touch her, just inclined his head toward an open doorway. Inside, a small gym, rubber floors, one treadmill, free weights, a pull-up bar. No mirrors. One camera, red light steady. Sarah stepped onto the treadmill. Ellis set the speed slow walk. He stood by the door, arms folded. She walked. The rhythm steadied her breathing. After 10 minutes, he increased the incline. Her calves burned. She didn't complain. At 8:15 exactly, he stopped the machine. Gestured to a door on the far side. Shower. One towel. Unscented soap. No lock on the inside. Sarah showered fast, water scalding. When she emerged, fresh clothes waited on a bench. Jeans, white shirt, socks. Her old hoodie was gone. Back in her room, a new tray. Oatmeal with berries, black coffee. She ate standing up. At 8:59, the door opened again. Robert entered carrying a tablet. He set it on the cot. Lesson 1, he said. Python. You'll code a simple budget tracker. I'll know when you finish. He left without waiting for a reply. Sarah stared at the tablet. The screen woke to a blank ID. A sticky note on the bezel. No internet. No games. Just this. She sat. Opened the file. The cursor blinked. Outside, somewhere, a clock ticked. She hadn't seen one, but she felt it. Sarah typed the first line of code. Her fingers didn't shake. Not anymore. The cursor blinked one final time. Sarah hit save. The budget tracker compiled cleanly, inputs, outputs, a simple graph. She set the tablet aside, screen dimming to black. The room's lights had shifted to a warmer tone. 6 p.m. by the internal clock she'd started keeping. The door opened without a knock. Ellis stood there, same suit, same silence. He tilted his head toward the hallway. Sarah rose, smoothing the white shirt. No tether, no cuffs, just the weight of expectation. They walked. Polished concrete gave way to darker wood underfoot. The grain worn smooth by years of quiet footsteps. The air carried garlic, thyme, something citrus. Her stomach answered before her mind could. Ellis stopped at a wide archway. Beyond, a dining room, long and narrow. One table, raw oak, no cloth. 2 places set opposite each other, 3 meters apart. Low pendants cast circles of light that didn't quite meet in the middle. Rain tapped the skylight high above, steady and distant. Robert was already seated. Shirt sleeves rolled once, the cut on his forearm cleaned and closed with two thin strips. A bottle of red stood open beside his plate. One glass poured, one empty. He didn't look up when she entered. Ellis pulled out her chair. The legs scraped softly. Sarah sat. The guard left without a word, door easing shut behind him. Silence settled like dust. Plate in front of her. Seared salmon, skin crisp, on a bed of lentils and wilted greens. Steam curled, then vanished. No sauces, no garnish. Simple, precise. Robert lifted his fork, cut a piece of fish, chewed. His eyes stayed on his plate. Sarah's hands rested in her lap. She could feel the absence of the cuff, the ghost pressure around her ankle. She flexed her fingers. Eat, he said. Not a command, lower, almost conversational. But the single word filled the room. She picked up the fork. The salmon flaked under the tines. She tasted salt, lemon, smoke. Her throat closed on the first bite. She forced it down. Minutes passed. Cutlery touched porcelain with soft clicks. Rain intensified, drumming harder against glass. Sarah risked a glance. Robert's reflection stared back at her from the dark window beyond his shoulder. Two of him, one real, one ghost. He was watching her in the glass. She looked away, took another bite. The lentils were warm, earthy. She hadn't realized how hungry she was until the food was halfway gone. Robert poured wine into the empty glass, slid it across the table. The base scraped wood. It stopped exactly midway between them. Sarah stared at it. I'm not 21. I'm aware. His voice was even. It's one glass. You'll sleep better. She didn't touch it. He set the bottle down, leaned back slightly. The pendant light carved shadows under his cheekbones. You finished the code, he said. Yes. Clean. Efficient. You left comments. A pause. Most people don't. Sarah shrugged. The motion felt small. Habit. Another silence. The kind that pressed against eardrums. She set her fork down. Plate half empty. Why dinner? Robert's gaze shifted to her face. Direct now, no reflection. You need calories. I need to see how you behave when you're not cornered. Sarah's pulse flickered. And you're measuring every exit. Every word. That's smart. He lifted his glass, sipped. But you're also cataloging me. That's new. Her fingers found the edge of the table, would grain under her thumb. You said no lies. I did. Then tell me something true. Robert set the glass down. The bass rang softly. He considered her for a long moment. I don't eat with people, he said. Not like this. Not in 15 years. The admission hung between them, heavier than the rain. Sarah's breath caught. She didn't know what to do with it. Robert picked up his fork again. Finish your food. She did. Slowly. The salmon disappeared. The greens. She left 2 lentils. He noticed. Didn't comment. When her plate was clean, he pushed the wine glass an inch closer. 1 sip. Then we're done. Sarah wrapped her fingers around the stem. The glass was cool. She brought it to her lips, tasted black cherry and something sharp, like graphite. 1 sip. She set it down exactly where it had been. Robert watched the motion. Something shifted behind his eyes, approval, maybe, or recognition. He stood, chair silent, rounded the table slowly, stopping just behind her shoulder. Not touching. Close enough she felt the heat of him through the shirt. You're shaking again, he said quietly. Sarah looked at her hands. They were steady. She turned them palm up. No, not your hands. His voice dropped. Inside. She closed her fists. Robert stepped back. Ellis will take you to your room. Lights dim at 10. Gym at 7:30. Same as today. He moved toward the archway. Paused. Sarah. She looked up. The wine was a test. You passed. A beat. Don't expect another. Then he was gone. The door closed with the same soft finality. Sarah sat alone under the pendants. The empty glass reflected distorted light. Rain eased to a whisper. She touched her wrist where the cuff had been. The skin was unmarked now, but she could still feel the pressure. Standing, she carried both plates to the sideboard herself. Ellis hadn't returned. The motion felt strange, voluntary. She set them down neatly. In the hallway, the guard waited. He didn't speak, just walked her back. The room was unchanged. Cot made. Tablet charging. A new book on the nightstand, The Art of War. She almost smiled. Sarah sat on the edge of the cot. The wine had left a faint warmth in her chest. Not comfort. Awareness. She whispered to the empty room. He doesn't eat with people. The camera blinked red, patient. But for the first time, the silence didn't feel like a cage. Felt like a question. The camera's red light blinked in the dark. Sarah lay on the cot, eyes open, the wine's faint burn still on her tongue. I don't eat with people. The words sat in her chest like a stone. Not cruelty, just fact. And the way he'd said it, the way he'd watched her reflection in the window, made her feel seen in a way that terrified her more than the tether ever had. She wasn't just a debt. She was a variable he hadn't solved. She couldn't stay. The room was silent. No vent. No rain. Just the soft tick of the building cooling. She sat up, heart already racing. The door was still unlocked. She'd tested the handle twice since Ellis left. Robert's arrogance or his test. Either way, it was a crack. Sarah slipped off the cot. Socks on wood, no sound. The hallway beyond was dim, baseboard lights glowing like embers. She eased the door open, breath held. Empty. No Ellis. No Marisol. Just the low hum of the generator somewhere deep in the walls. She moved. Left, past the gym door. Right, toward the service corridor she'd seen Marisol use. Her hands shook, but her feet were steady. The air smelled of lemon polish and cold stone. At the service door, a keypad glowed red. No code. She tried 0000, nothing. 1234. Beep. Redder. Panic clawed up her throat. Footsteps. Light uneven. Marisol. Sarah ducked behind a stack of folded chairs, knees to chest, breath trapped. The older woman passed, humming, tray of glasses clinking softly. She didn't look down. The service door opened with a soft hiss, then closed. Sarah waited, counted to 30. Then she moved again. Another door, unlocked, unmarked. She pushed it open. A mudroom, boots lined up, coats on hooks. One pair of running shoes her size. She slipped them on, fingers fumbling laces. A side exit. No alarm panel, just a push bar. She pressed it. Cold night air hit her face. Pine and wet earth. The gravel drive stretched into darkness, trees swallowing the edges. No floodlights, no dogs. Just the faint glow of the gate 100 yards away. Tall, black, coated. Sarah ran. Gravel bit through the shoes. Her lungs burned. She kept to the edge, where grass muffled her steps. The gate loomed. Keypad again. She punched in the warehouse code from memory. 4-7-9-2. Read. Behind her, a door opened. She didn't look back. Dove into the trees, branches whipping her face. Thorns snagged her shirt. She pushed deeper, heart slamming against ribs. The ground sloped down, muddy. She slipped, caught herself on a trunk. Kept moving. A voice cut through the dark. Not loud, but close. Sarah. She froze. Robert. 20 feet back, maybe less. No flashlight. Just his silhouette against the faint house glow. He wasn't running, just standing. She bolted again. A root caught her ankle. She went down hard, palms scraping dirt. Breath ragged. She scrambled up, but a hand closed on her wrist. Firm, not cruel. She spun. Robert's face was inches away, eyes black in the dark. The cut on his arm had reopened. Blood streaked his sleeve. Let go, she whispered. Her voice cracked. He didn't. His grip tightened, just enough to anchor. You think the gate opens for anyone? Sarah tried to pull free. He didn't budge. I'm not staying. You think I'd let you walk into what's waiting out there? His voice was low, controlled, but something trembled beneath it. Your father's debt isn't paid. They'll find you in a day. She stared at him. Rain started again, light, cold. It beaded on his lashes. "I'm not afraid of them," she said. "I'm afraid of you." Robert's jaw flexed. For the first time, he looked away. "You should be." Silence. Just rain and breathing. Then he let go. Sarah stumbled back. Her wrist burned where he'd held it. She waited for him to grab her again. He didn't. "Go," he said. "Gate code is 8-1-3-9. Car keys in the guard booth. Take the gray sedan. Drive west until the tank's empty. After that, you're on your own." She didn't move. He met her eyes. "But if you leave, you don't come back." "Not ever." Sarah's throat closed. The trees pressed in. Freedom was 20 feet away. But his voice, steady, raw, held her like the tether never had. She took one step back. Then another. Robert didn't follow. At the gate, she punched in the code. It slid open with a soft whine. The guard booth was empty. Keys on the hook. The sedan's engine turned over on the first try. She gripped the wheel. Rain blurred the windshield. In the rear view, Robert stood in the drive, unmoving, getting smaller. Sarah drove. The gate closed behind her. The rain-slicked road blurred ahead, wipers slapping rhythmically. Sarah's hands clenched the wheel, knuckles white. The sedan's dashboard glowed 11:47 p.m. She'd driven 20 minutes, far enough to see the gate's lights fade in the rear view, close enough to feel the pullback. Her head throbbed, a dull ache behind her eyes, sharpening with each mile. Stress, she told herself. Adrenaline crash. The cold from the woods, the mud still caking her shoes. But her skin prickled hot, then clammy. She cracked the window, letting November air bite her face. It helped for 10 seconds. By mile 30, the shivering started. Uncontrollable, teeth chattering against the wheel. She cranked the heat, but it blew lukewarm. Sweat beaded on her forehead, dripping into her eyes. The road curved. She overcorrected, tires squealing. "Fuck," she whispered, pulled onto the shoulder. Killed the engine. The silence was worse. Her body shook like it was trying to escape itself. She fumbled for her phone, no signal, no charger, just the keys dangling from the ignition. She couldn't do this. Not like this. The car roared back to life. She turned around. The gate opened before she reached it. Robert stood in the drive, alone, coatless in the rain. He didn't move as she parked crookedly, engine ticking. She stumbled out, legs buckling. He caught her elbow firm, steady. "Inside," he said. No triumph, no anger, just fact. She tried to pull away. Later. His arm slid around her waist, supporting more weight than she wanted to admit. The house swallowed them. Ellis appeared at the door, face blank, but his eyes widened fractionally. "Get Marisol," Robert said. "And the doctor. Now." Sarah's vision tunneled. The hallway tilted. She heard herself mumble, "I'm fine." But it came out slurred. "You're not." His voice was close, breath against her temple. He half carried her to a different room. Not the cot cell, but larger, with a real bed. Dark wood, heavy curtains. The door closed. She collapsed onto the mattress, sheets cool against burning skin. Time fractured. Flashes. Marisol's hands, rough but gentle, stripping wet clothes, sponging her arms. Robert's voice from the doorway. Sharp. "What the hell do you mean no house call? Fly him in." A thermometer under her tongue. 103.8. Low curse in a language she didn't recognize. Cold cloth on her forehead. His fingers calloused, pressing it there. Steady. She surfaced once, eyes cracking open. Robert sat in a chair dragged close, elbows on knees, watching her. His shirt was damp, sleeves rolled, the reopened cut on his arm stark red. "You came back," he said quietly. Sarah's throat was sandpaper. "Couldn't make it." He didn't smile. Poured water from a pitcher, held the glass to her lips. She drank in sips, spilling half. He wiped her chin with the edge of the sheet, movement awkward, like he'd never done it before. "Go away," she whispered. "No," he set the glass down, adjusted the cloth. Too hot already. Replaced it. Why? His jaw tightened. Because I let you leave. And you almost died out there. She shivered violently. He pulled the blanket higher, tucking it around her shoulders. The motion was careful, almost tender. His hand lingered on her arm, thumb brushing the skin once before he caught himself and pulled back. Ellis knocked. Doctor's en route. 20 minutes. Robert nodded without looking up. Clear the airstrip. The guard hesitated, visible in the doorway's shadow. Sir. Go. The door clicked shut. Sarah's eyes fluttered closed again. Fever dreams bled in. The gate opening, rain on his face, the way he'd stood there waiting. Not chasing. Waiting. She woke to low voices. Doctor, older man, gray hair, stethoscope cold on her chest. Flu. Bad strain. Viral, but she's young. Hydrate. Rest. Tamiflu if you can get it. Robert. Already here. Prescription pad scratching. Then gone. Alone again. Night deep now. Clock on the wall. For 13 a.m. rain pattered the window. Robert hadn't moved. Forearms on his thighs, head bowed. Asleep? No, his eyes opened when she shifted. You're still here, she croaked. He straightened, poured more water. Told you. Sarah tried to sit. The room spun. He pressed her shoulder down, gentle pressure. Robert. He froze at the name. First time she'd said it. Don't, he said. But his voice cracked, just once. She reached out, delirious, fingers brushing his wrist. Over the cut. You bled for me. He pulled back like burned. Stood. Paced to the window. Back. Sleep. Tell me why. He stopped at the bed's edge. Looked down at her. Really looked, unguarded. Exhaustion carved lines under his eyes. Because the alternative, he said, voice rough, is worse. For who? Silence. The clock ticked. For me. He sat again. Took her hand, deliberate this time. Held it palm to palm until her eyes closed. When she woke at dawn, fever broken to a simmer, he was gone. But the chair was still there, pushed close. A fresh glass of water. 2 pills on the nightstand. And on the pillow beside her, the brass key from the tether. She didn't touch it. Dawn light filtered through heavy curtains, casting pale stripes across the bed. Sarah woke slowly. The fever's grip loosened to a dull ache in her joints. The room smelled of antiseptic and cedar. The brass key still lay on the pillow, untouched. She stared at it, then at the empty chair, pulled close, indented where Robert had sat through the night. The door opened softly. Marisol entered with a tray, oatmeal, black coffee, a banana sliced lengthwise. She set it on the nightstand without a word, checked the water glass, and left. Sarah sat up, blanket pooling at her waist. Her legs felt like borrowed things. She ate half the oatmeal. The coffee steadied her hands. Footsteps in the hall, heavier than Marisol's. Robert appeared in the doorway, hair damp from a shower, wearing a dark Henley. The cut on his arm was bandaged now, neat and white. He carried a thin folder. You're awake, he said. Not a question. Sarah set the spoon down. You didn't sleep. I did. He stepped inside, closed the door with his heel. Enough. He didn't sit. Stood at the foot of the bed, folder in one hand. His eyes flicked to the key, then to her face. I need to show you something. Sarah's stomach tightened. What? He opened the folder. A single sheet ledger printout, columns of numbers, dates. He placed it on the blanket between them. Your uncle's debt, he said. The one I bought. She scanned the page. 43 million. Offshore transfers. Her father's signature at the bottom, shaky but real. She'd seen it before in Act 1. Nothing new. Robert flipped to the next page. A second contract. Different ink. Different date, 3 days after the first. This one, he said, voice low, says the collateral was never you. Sarah's breath caught. The paper listed assets. 2 shell companies, a warehouse in Tacoma, a patent portfolio. No mention of her name. She looked up. Then why? Your uncle added you later. Robert's jaw flexed. Forged an amendment. Backdated it. I didn't catch it until last night. Silence stretched. The clock on the wall ticked once, twice. Sarah's fingers curled into the blanket. He sold me anyway. He tried to bury the real collateral, Robert said. The companies were empty. The warehouse burned last month, insurance fraud. He needed a scapegoat. You were convenient. Her throat closed. She remembered her uncle's voice on the phone, weeks before the warehouse. It's just business, Sarah. Family looks out for family. She'd hung up, thinking he was drunk. Robert watched her. I verified it. Bank records, emails, a burner phone he used to coordinate with my broker. He paused. The broker's gone. Quietly. Sarah's eyes burned. You killed him? No, a beat. He's in federal custody. Talking. She laughed once. Sharp, hollow. So what now? You let me go? Apologize? Robert's gaze didn't waver. I should. But. He set the folder aside. Sat on the edge of the bed. Close enough she felt the mattress dip. I thought I was collecting a debt. Clean. Legal. I told myself it didn't matter who paid it. His voice dropped. Then you coded that budget tracker. Ate half a peach. Ran in the rain. Sarah's pulse thudded in her ears. Stop. I can't. He looked at his hands. I kept you because I wanted to, not because of the contract. The admission hung between them, raw and ugly. Sarah's voice cracked. You don't get to want me. You don't get to care. I know. She pushed the blanket off, swung her legs over the side. The floor was cold. She stood, unsteady, but didn't fall. Where's my father? Safe house. Portland. Your brother too. Robert didn't move to help her. They think you're with friends. I made sure. Sarah stared at him. You protected them. I protected you. She took one step toward the door. Then another. Her hand found the handle. Robert's voice stopped her. The gates open. Cars fueled. You leave, no one follows. She turned. His face was unreadable, but his hands were clenched on his knees. And if I stay? He met her eyes. Then we burn the contracts. Both of them. And figure out what the hell this is. Sarah's fingers tightened on the handle. The brass key glinted on the pillow behind him. She didn't move. The door handle was cold under Sarah's palm. She didn't turn it. Robert sat on the bed's edge, hands still clenched, eyes on the floor. The folder lay open between them like a wound. 43 million. A forged amendment. Her uncle's signature, clean, practiced, final. She opened her mouth, closed it. The silence pressed harder than any tether. A low thud echoed from the front of the house. Not the generator. Not the wind. A solid, deliberate impact. Then another. Robert's head snapped up. He was on his feet before the third thud, folder sliding to the floor. Stay here. He moved to the door, hand slipping under his Henley. Gun, small, matte black. Sarah hadn't seen it before. Her pulse spiked. Robert! Lock it behind me. He was gone. The door clicked shut. Sarah stared at the handle, then at the brass key on the pillow. Her legs carried her forward without permission. She turned the lock. Silence. Then a sharp crack with splintering. A muffled shout. Ellis's voice, cut off. Sarah's breath came shallow. She pressed her ear to the door. Footsteps, multiple, fast. A grunt. Something heavy hitting the floor. She unlocked the door. Cracked it. The hallway was dim, baseboard lights flickering. Smoke curled from the direction of the main entrance. Thin, acrid. Gunpowder. Robert's voice, low and lethal. Back door. Now. Another crack, glass this time. Sarah stepped into the hall. Her bare feet stuck to the wood. She rounded the corner toward the dining room. Chaos in freeze frames. Ellis on the floor, blood pooling under his shoulder. Two men in black tactical gear. One advancing on Robert, the other sweeping a flashlight. Robert fired once, controlled, center mass. The man dropped. The second lunged. Sarah's scream lodged in her throat. Robert pivoted, took the hit to his side, knife, not bullet. He grunted, drove his elbow into the attacker's throat. The man gurgled, staggered. Robert followed with the gun but to the temple. Down. Silence rushed in, deafening. Sarah's legs moved. She reached Robert as he pressed a hand to his ribs. Blood seeped between his fingers, dark on the Henley. "You're hurt." Superficial. His voice was tight. He scanned the room, gun still raised. "More coming." Ellis groaned. Sarah knelt, ripped the hem of her shirt, pressed it to the guard's shoulder. "Hold this." Ellis's eyes found hers, grateful, fading. "East wing, safe room." Robert hauled her up by the elbow. "Move." They ran. Hallway blurred. Another crash behind them, front door giving way. Footsteps pounding. Robert shoved her ahead into a narrow corridor she'd never seen. Steel door at the end. He punched a code, fingers slick with blood. The lock disengaged. Inside, small room, concrete walls, one monitor bank. He slammed the door, threw the bolt. The screen flickered to life, 4 feeds. 3 men outside, masked, moving through the house. One carried a suppressed rifle. Sarah's breath hitched. "Who are they?" "Your uncle's cleanup crew." Robert leaned against the wall, breathing through his teeth. He can't let the forgery stand. He slid down, sat hard. Blood pooled faster now. Sarah dropped beside him, hands hovering. "Let me see." He lifted the shirt. The cut was long, shallow but angry. She pressed both palms to it. "Warm. Dicky." "Pressure," he said. "Harder." She did. Her hands shook. His skin was hot under her fingers. On the monitor, a masked man kicked in her old room's door. Another set something on the dining table, small, black. Timer blinking. "Charges," Robert muttered. "They're burning it down." Sarah's stomach lurched. "We have to get out." East tunnel. Under the gym. He tried to stand. Winced. Keypad. 8-1-3-9. She helped him up. His weight leaned heavy on her shoulder. Blood soaked her shirt now. The door shuddered, impact from outside. Muffled voices. Then silence. Robert's eyes met hers. "You still have the key?" She nodded. The brass one in her pocket. "Good." He pressed the gun into her hand. "Point and pull." No hesitation. Sarah stared at the weapon. Heavy. Real. Another thud against the door. The bolt held. Robert keyed the second exit, hidden panel in the wall. It slid open to a narrow staircase, damp air rushing up. "Go," he said. "I'll hold them." "No," the word tore out of her. "Together." He looked at her, really looked. Something cracked in his expression. Not control. Not power. Just a man bleeding out in a concrete box. "Together," he echoed. They descended. The door above exploded inward as they reached the bottom step. Sarah didn't look back. The tunnel spat them out into a small clearing behind the gym, moonlight slicing through pine needles. The house was a dark shape behind them, windows glowing orange. Fire licking at the edges. Sarah's lungs burned. Robert leaned heavy on her shoulder, each step leaving a darker print on the damp earth. A shed loomed ahead, metal, no lock. Robert keyed a pad with blood-slick fingers. Inside, cots, bottled water, a med kit on a shelf. He collapsed onto the nearest cot, breath ragged. Sarah locked the door, pressed her back to it. The gun trembled in her hand until she set it down. Silence. Just their breathing and the distant crackle of flames. She found the light switch, single bulb, harsh. Robert's side was soaked through. She knelt, peeled the Henley up. The cut had reopened wider, edges angry. Blood pulsed slower now. "Hold still." Her voice shook, but her hands didn't. She tore open the med kit, gauze, antiseptic, sutures. Poured water over the wound. He hissed. "Sorry." "Don't be." His eyes tracked her face. "You're steady." Sarah cleaned the gash, alcohol sharp in the air. He didn't flinch again. She pressed gauze, taped it. Her fingers lingered on his skin, warm, alive. Outside, sirens wailed. Far off. Fire crews, maybe. Or worse. She sat on the cot's edge. Close. Their knees touched. "You should have left me back there," he said. Voice low, cracked. Sarah shook her head. You didn't let me. A ghost of a smile. And now. She looked at the gun, then at him. Now I don't want to. The words hung. Simple. True. Robert closed his eyes. I lied to myself. Told myself it was the contract. The debt. Control. He opened them again. It was you. From the first night. The way you looked at the camera like it owed you something. Sarah's throat tightened. I was terrified. I know. His hand found hers, slow, deliberate. Fingers interlaced. I kept you because I didn't know how to stop. She didn't pull away. I hated you. I know that too. Silence settled, softer now. The bulb hummed. Sarah leaned forward, forehead almost touching his. I still hate what you did. But not you. Not anymore. Robert's breath hitched. I don't deserve that. Maybe not. She squeezed his hand. But I'm giving it anyway. He laughed once, short, pained. You're impossible. You're bleeding on my jeans. He looked down, winced. Sorry. Don't be. She echoed him. Then quieter. I came back in the car. Before the fever. I turned around because I couldn't leave you standing there. Robert's eyes searched hers. Why? Because you let me go. Her voice cracked. And no one's ever done that. He lifted her hand, pressed his lips to her knuckles. Brief, reverent. Not a kiss. A confession. Sarah's heart thudded. She didn't move. Outside, the fire roared, then faded. Sirens grew closer, then passed. The shed stayed dark, untouched. She shifted, lay beside him on the narrow cot, careful of the wound, her head on his good shoulder. His arm came around her, hesitant. I don't know what this is, she whispered. Me neither. His voice rumbled under her ear. But it's not the contract. Sarah closed her eyes. The bulb flickered once, steadied. In the quiet, she felt his heartbeat. Fast, then slower, matching hers. The bulb hummed steady above them. Sarah's head stayed on Robert's shoulder, her breathing slow, matching the rise and fall of his chest. The shed smelled of antiseptic, blood, and pine drifting through a cracked vent. Outside, the fire had settled into a low glow, sirens long gone. The night felt used up. Neither moved. His arm stayed around her, thumb tracing a small circle on her sleeve. Absent, then deliberate. She felt it like a question. Dawn crept in, gray light leaking around the doorframe. Sarah lifted her head. Robert's eyes were open, watching the ceiling. The bandage on his side was dark but dry. She sat up slowly. The cot creaked. Her legs dangled over the edge, toes brushing cold concrete. Robert didn't speak. Sarah stood, found her shoes by the med kit, slipped them on. The brass key was still in her pocket, heavy, warm from her body. She pulled it out, turned it over in her palm. Robert watched. Gates open. I know. She walked to the door, hand on the handle, paused. The silence stretched, thick but not cruel. Sarah turned. You meant it? About the contracts? Burned with the house. His voice was rough from disuse. Everything. She nodded once, stepped outside. Morning air bit sharp, smoke and wet earth. The main house smoldered in the distance. Roof collapsed, windows black. A single fire truck idled on the drive, crew packing up. No one looked her way. The gray sedan sat where she'd left it, keys in the ignition. She opened the driver's door, then stopped. Robert appeared in the shed doorway, leaning on the frame. Shirt untucked, blood-stained. He didn't come closer. Sarah looked at the car, then at him. I could drive, she said. West, like you said. You could. She closed the door, walked back, stopped 3 feet away. I don't know where I'd go. Robert's jaw worked. You don't have to know. Sarah studied his face, scar, stubble, the faint bruise under one eye. She stepped closer, reached out, touched the bandage. Light pressure. You're free too, she said quietly. He exhaled, shaky. I don't know what that means. Means you don't decide for me anymore. She slipped the brass key into his hand, closed his fingers around it. And I don't run. Robert stared at the key, then at her. Sarah took his other hand, laced their fingers. No tremor now. I'm not staying because I have to, she said. I'm staying because I want to see what happens when we're both just people. A long beat. Robert's shoulders dropped, like a weight finally cut loose. I don't know how to be that. Me neither. She smiled small, real. We'll figure it out. He pulled her in, forehead to forehead, breathed her in. Behind them, the sun broke over the trees, gold on charred wood. The air smelled of ash and beginning. Sarah closed her eyes. Freedom wasn't the open gate. It was standing still,